Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. Today on the program,
authorities are now investigating the deadly twin blast in Jolo, Sulu.
Well, definitely electronically detonated ito.
The entire town is now on lockdown.
We need to be very vigilant.
While the military and the police beef up security and are now on nationwide heightened alert.
The heightened alert condition also called for intensified checkpoint operations.
How can the government prevent these attacks? Acting Sulu Congressman and PBA Party List Representative Jericho Nograles joins us live. And later, how do you save a dying community? That's for today's In Focus.
thank you for joining us. I'm Pinky Webb. The military and the Philippine National Police vow to intensify its intelligence gathering on persons of interest in the deadly bombings in Jolo, Sulu on Sunday. Authorities are pointing to 6 people who could be behind the attack, which killed 20 people and injured more than 100 others. The military adds the twin blasts that rocked a Jolo cathedral are not a case of suicide bombing. Let's go straight to the source of the story. We have Interior and Local Government Secretary Eduardo on the line. Secretary Año, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Pinky, and good morning also to our listeners and televiewers.
Secretary, are you back in Manila?
Yes, we're back in Manila last night after visiting the cathedral and also the relatives of those people killed in the blast yesterday.
Can you give us the latest update, Secretary Año?
Our EOD, together with the SOCO, it's a joint team with the AFP and the PNP, still conducting the investigation and trying to come up with the components of the bomb, the pipe bombs used during the blast. But as early as now, we can see the similarity of the use of ANFO, which was also used in Basilan, in Lamitan, Basilan last year.
Mm-hmm. And with regards to the victims, sir, what we have are 20 dead and hundreds injured?
It already rose to 22 because one died the other night and another one died yesterday. So 22 all in all.
Sir, those injured?
Including 5 Army soldiers and 1 Philippine Coast Guard personnel.
Only, with regards to the Coast Guard, sir, a Coast Guard personnel?
Yes, one Coast Guard personnel.
Okay. Sir, obviously, people are still, as you mentioned, authorities are still looking into the type of bomb and how this all happened. But authorities are already saying this was not a suicide bombing, sir. Is this true? Are you discounting that this was...
No. We're not discounting that because I have some information also, but it's not yet validated, that a couple was involved in the bombing, and the first one was shot by the woman, the second one was shot by the male, but it has to be validated still. But there are some witnesses who survived the blast that somebody saw a woman with a black jacket carrying a black bag who sat down on the 4th row. So there is that possibility that that black bag contained the bomb that exploded on the first explosion.
Inside the cathedral, you were referring
yes,
to
inside
the first
cathedral.
bomb inside the cathedral. Secretary, that was also a question that's being asked because the military is tasked to secure the area, especially during the mass at the cathedral. I guess the question is that some are asking, paano ho kaya nakapasok yung bomba doon sa loob ng cathedral, knowing that mahigpit po supposedly yung ating mga sundalo doon. And the second question there, sir, is there is speculation that malakas nga po yung bomba kasi umabot daw ng hundreds of feet yung shrapnel. So,
yes.
To an ordinary mind, sir, paano ba itong malaki ba itong bomba? Because it had to be, it was very, malakas po ang explosion ito.
Based on the initial analysis of our EOD, about 2 to 3 kilos ang bomba na ginamit dito sa dalawang pagsabog. And yes, it's true that even before that incident, we already received information. In fact, ang information natin ay tatlo yan, yung sa Basilan, yung sa Cotabato, at saka dito sa Jolo. Kaya nga nag-intensify tayo. In fact, the soldiers who were killed in the explosion, they are guarding the place 24 hours a day. They are already sleeping at the gate of the cathedral. Somehow there was some lapses. Probably naging complacent sila because tapos na yung BOL. So, hindi nila na supposedly dapat wala naman magsisimbang merong bag at saka black bag. Dapat hindi pinapayagan yan. Medyo nagkaroon ng konting lapses doon. At kaya nga naman yung ating, in fairness to our 5 soldiers were killed, no? Talagang they died in the line of duty.
Yes,
Kaya
sir.
doon sila talaga namatay. At ang mahirap dito kasi yung kanilang mga suot, may mga bala doon. So baka doon sa explosion, baka mama din sa kanila yung mga bala na dala-dala nila.
Very hard, no, Secretary Anyo, sometimes even to say that there could have been a failure in the security because I know that investigation is still ongoing and then now you're telling us that yung mga sundalo ay halos doon na pala natutulog sa simbahan just to guard it 24/7.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tatlong ring kasi ang ginagawa natin around the church. Nandiyan yung talagang army soldiers na nagbabantay on the outer ring. The joint AP and PNP checkpoints leading to the cathedral, and on the most outer ring yung regular checkpoint naman ng PNP. But unfortunately ay nalusutan pa rin yung mga sundalo natin doon na kinaswidi ng kanilang buhay.
Yun nga po
But we'll make sure naman talaga na we'll make changes and ensure na this will not happen to other
Yes, sir.
areas, particularly churches.
Yes, you know, we were saying, sir, very heartbreaking. We have video of the CCTV footage, sir. I think there are 2 vantage points here. And I don't know if you have a television in front of you, but I wanna run this to you, sir. Kasi merong sinasabi na ilang mga kalalakihan na, ayun, yung nagtakbuhan na po sila. What can you tell us about the video? Because I know, sir, that you obviously, you guys were talking about this yesterday, dyan po sa Jolo.
Oh yes, I've seen the video. We viewed it yesterday. Itong 4 na ito kasi ay more or less may naka-identify na they are part of the ASG Ajang group. This is what we call the urban terrorist group. Parang mga underwriters ito ng regular Abu Sayyaf, used to run errands and provide support by providing safe house and relaying communications until they're ready.
Sec, let me just ask,
identify tayo dyan.
Okay, kasi Sec, naka-pause kami doon sa sinasabing 4 na kalalakihan. Ito ho kasi yung meron pong naka-blue na jacket at yung isa po parang meron pong bag na pula. Is this what you're referring to, sir? Sila ho ba yung persons of interest na sinasabi ninyo?
Yes, that's right. Sila
So,
yung 4 na person of interest.
In fact, sir, you know, nung nagsama-sama po sila, and then nung naghiwalay, yung lalaki pong naka-blue, parang meron pong pinasa doon sa isa niyang kasamahan.
Yes,
Let's play that. Ayun. What was that, sir? I mean, medyo malayo po, but do you have any theory on what that was all about, sir?
Well, it looks like a cell phone was being handed to the other companion, and the guy ran counter to the direction of the crowd.
Opo.
And he has been identified already. Mayroon ng pangalan yan at subject na rin yan sa ating manhunt at operation.
Sino po siya, Secretary?
I'm sorry, I don't want to reveal the name because this is the subject of AP and PNP operation.
Meron po kasing
But he
lumalabas.
has been identified.
Sir, meron po kasi lumalabas sa mga report na one of them, I don't know if it's one of those 4, yung bomb-making expert. Is this the same guy na sinasabi niyo, sir?
I cannot.
Okay.
I cannot comment on that. But one thing is sure, the bomb was already prepared way back in the mountains before it was brought in Jolo. But yung isa sa na-identify dyan ay kilala talaga na membro ng ASG Ajang, and they've been trained also in bomb making.
Secretary Anyo, I know investigation is ongoing. We will continue to get more updates on this. Again, very heartbreaking, sir. A number of civilians, members of our military and the Coast Guard dead in this twin blast. Maraming salamat po sa inyo, DILG Secretary Eduardo Anyo. Thank you, sir. President Rodrigo Duterte calling on his troops to finish off terror groups as he visits the site of back-to-back deadly blasts at a church in the town of Jolo. These are photographs of that visit that happened yesterday afternoon. Here's the president at the Cathedral of Our Lady of Mount Carmel, the site of the explosions. Mr. Duterte was accompanied by his former special assistant Bongo and his daughter, Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte Carpio. The attack happened Sunday morning during Mass. It killed 20 people and now 22, according to Secretary Anyo, and injured more than 100 others. Presidential spokesperson Sal Panelo earlier said the president was angry, disappointed, following the bombings. Panelo also pointed out there may have been lapses on the part of the security forces in the town, but he clarified that Malacanang is not disappointed with how the military is securing the town, particularly in implementing martial law. Let's now go straight to the source of the story. Acting Sulu 1st District Representative Jericho Nograles. Congressman, welcome back to the show, sir.
Thank you, Pinky. It's good to be back.
22 dead, according to Secretary Anyo. You are the caretaker now of the 1st District. What can you tell us so far, sir, how people are feeling, yung mga residente, because of what happened?
Well, first of all, the news that comes out are filtered already coming to Manila, and it doesn't give the full context of what's going on. First of all, I think in the headlines today, you'd see that the whole of Jolo is cordoned off or is on lockdown. I'd like to correct that the lockdown is only in specific areas of Jolo. So that specific area would be in the cathedral area, and business as usual goes on today. Yesterday, the municipality of Jolo called off work, called in a holiday, and there were no classes, and there were no banks and no institutions operating. But today, everybody goes back to school, goes back to work, and the banks are operating today. This security cordon...
So it's business as usual already today?
It's business as usual today, but it doesn't erase the very sad sentiment. You have to understand that in Jolo, there's a very small Catholic community. And in that Catholic community, they have basically integrated themselves already in the daily life of Jolo. And they are somebody's relative, brother, sister, cousin, or in-law. And it cuts across all families in Jolo. And this is a very sad time because we have not had this kind of violence ever. We're talking about all the previous attacks and threats to Mount Carmel with grenades, and usually no one dies.
Tinatapon lang, di ba?
Tinatapon, hinahagis during a time na walang tao. But this
parang
one...
panakot.
Parang panakot. So it's basic terrorism without the intention of actually killing people. So this time it's a little different. As Secretary Anyo did mention, and what we all know, the first explosion happened inside the church during second reading. And that first explosion was meant, at least from my perspective, it was meant to let people rush out to the exit, where the exit, you have the second explosion.
Which was in the parking area?
Not the parking area, because there's no parking area in the area. So you have a gate and you have the entrance. So what happened is inside the gate, the explosion happened inside the gate, but outside the entrance of the church. Now, eyewitnesses that have spoken to me personally have said that the explosion as they exit, the second explosion as they exited, threw people as far as 3 meters away. So
Through people?
Yes. So basically, as Secretary Anyo pointed out, there's about 2 to 3 kilos of explosives in the first explosion. In the second explosion, we don't know how big that was, but it was big enough to throw people 3 meters away
Ang layo
in a
nun,
blast
yeah.
site, and that person survived because that person is not close to the actual explosion,
The bomb explosion.
the second explosion
Yeah.
upon exit. So the ones who were closer, they're the casualties there. The church, to give perspective to a lot of people, is composed of about 5 rows, six rows, 6 pews.
You mean pews? Okay.
Yes, 6 rows of pews and about 8 different pews from front to back.
Front to back, 8 pews. Is
Yes,
that correct?
and spread out into about 6 columns.
Got it.
So it happened right at the center. So we are talking about the 4th pew from the altar. And that explosion happened in the middle of the second reading, which means that we know it's a planned attack. It was meant to let the churchgoers rush to the exit where a second explosion was waiting. Now, what we have right now is a huge deluge of information, misinformation, disinformation that our authorities from the NBI, the PNP, and the AFP are combing through. It's very hard to start speculating. It's very hard to squeeze answers from our authorities.
Absolutely.
Because it's still not yet final, and we're looking at all the evidence to support everything. So, as you asked earlier, was it a suicide bomber? That is a correct question to ask because you can neither rule it out or confirm that it was.
Which Secretary Anyo did not confirm nor deny. He
Correct.
said we're still looking into this.
Correct.
Yeah.
Eyewitnesses would corroborate such statements. The intelligence reports that the information that Secretary Anyo reported is one of the many informations that I actually received. And I find it particularly difficult to talk about details if I am not an actual eyewitness. And we have to wait for the final report. Now, I think it is noteworthy that the threats to Mount Carmel started about 5 months ago. In fact, 5 months ago, there is no vehicular traffic that is allowed within a cordoned area around Mount Carmel.
When you say cordoned area, how big is, I mean, how far is that cordoned area from the church? From
About 2 blocks in all sides. So just outside Mount Carmel, there are banks, for example. If you need to go to the bank, you cannot bring your car to the bank. You have to dismount from your car or your motorcycle or your tricycle and walk. Go to the bank. You go through about 2 layers of security that they will frisk you. They will open your bag. That was the security protocol 5 months ago. And the people of Jolo have already adjusted to that and have already stopped going through such routes. The one-way routes, they said, let's not pass through Mount Carmel anymore. Let's just go around it. So for the past 5 months, most of Sulu don't even pass through that area. So there is at this attack, there's a very minimum amount of vehicular traffic. But people still come in, go out in that area. For me, this puts Sulu in a bad light. And people in Jolo, people in Sulu, they just want a normal life.
Okay, we'll be talking about that a little more after the break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. We'll be right back. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today, Acting Sulu 1st District Representative Jericho Nograles. Congressman, please explain that further. If you were saying that 5 months ago, there was a cordon, people could not go use their car to go to the banks beside the cathedral, that they had to walk, they would be frisked, checked twice. Where are you getting with this? Does this mean that during last Sunday or the days that led to the attack, hindi na ganun ka-tight yung security?
Well, exactly as Secretary Panelo said, that the President is disappointed with what happened and there's an admission of a lack of security protocol, that there's a failure of security protocol there. And some even say a failure of intelligence. I think it is more of a failure of security protocol. There are 3 cordons. There are 3 different areas where people are supposed to be searched to enter Mount Carmel because, again, 5 months ago, that threat has been present. And everybody in Jolo knows that that threat is present, and everybody has adjusted to the fact that Mount Carmel is a target. And there are even other targets there, and there are security protocols set in place. And we have to thank the military. Don't get me wrong. We have to thank the military for working so hard to secure Jolo. But of course, there are lapses. There has to be lapses. How could somebody enter the church with a bomb?
But what I'm asking you is, if you're saying that 5 months ago there were 2 screening areas prior to going to the church, and this is what I want to clarify from you was, during that day, that Sunday, were they not implementing that security measure?
That is what they're investigating right now, what happened. Now, I'm getting a lot of reports as to what happened on that day, but none of these reports are verified. So all of these reports, they get bounced off me, and then I throw it back to the intelligence community, I throw it back to the generals, because it's very difficult to start accusing people. But I do commend the military right now. Right after the visit of the president, he wanted to intensify efforts against the Abu Sayyaf bandits. And right now, I think there are ongoing military operations that have intensified in their stronghold in Patikul.
In Sulu. All right. So what then now? If it's back to normal, it's business as usual as of today, offices, schools are back. What is the situation now around that area? Because you're saying that the lockdown is really just, from my understanding, around the cathedral. You know, you said maybe, what is it, like, how many blocks around?
It's the same cordon as before.
So that's the only area that's on lockdown?
Yes, that's the only area on lockdown. But when you say lockdown, it's basically not that tight. If you are cleared to enter, if that's your normal work, that's your normal transaction, then you are cleared to enter that. However, vehicular traffic is already closed, so it's the same protocol as 5 months ago. So the protocol in 5 months was relaxed probably 4 or 3 months ago when the threat seemed to dissipate. So the levels of threat really depend on the level of intelligence that comes. Yeah. And at the same time, there is always the human factor.
Yes.
And human factors, you know, that's when everything is not perfect. Commercial flights are still there. You can still fly from Zamboanga to Jolo, and that's proof enough to say that Jolo is not on lockdown.
So some are saying that, you know, you're also on, Mindanao is under martial law since 2017, and nalusutan pa kahit na naka-martial law. What do you say to that?
Well, it's not perfect. I mean, yes, Mindanao is on martial law. The whole of Mindanao is on martial law. And despite that, crimes do happen. Terrorism does happen. It's not a perfect martial law, and we cannot, and there's always that human factor.
Is martial law justified?
Yeah, more so right now. More so right now. If there wasn't martial law 5 months ago, making that security cordon is harder. And I will still reiterate that martial law in particularly Sulu, martial law in Sulu is still welcomed by the people.
How about the BOL, the timing, the ratification of the Bangsamoro Organic Law, and the twin blasts?
Well, it's very difficult to make that connection. I think at best that's still speculative, because the twin blasts serve no purpose as to the outcome of the BOL. So the BOL is done as far as Sulu is concerned. Sulu voted generally no, but there are many municipalities that also voted yes. And these bombings and terrorist activities don't change the outcome of that BOL plebiscite.
Congressman Jericho Nograles, sir, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Coming up, an Italian town is exerting all efforts to save a dying community. That's for today's In Focus.